intelligence never grants authority. Does anyone have any idea what that connotation has, or what that feeling has in AI? Anybody? Seth?
Authority is not something that should be decided by a machine.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the basis of the what I've been trying to build with agent responsibility engineering. I try to think if I was going to use agent accountability engineering, because really, are we trying to hold the models and the agents accountable or responsible? And it could go either way. So I went with responsibility because it just ARE, it fits with SRE, and I come from an SRE background. So I went with that because the capability is not the permission. And the idea is that we use policy as code to to make sure that that workload or that agent earns the right to execute. So that's the basis of ARE, is intelligence never grants authority. And I'm currently, because it's very interesting that you go over some of the changes in the industry. And at Red Hat, I've been involved, I've only been there for 3 months, and the amount of work that is available on the forefront, on the edge, to learn and build is immense. And it's great because I found out that there was an open source project that's actually doing this, an IBM research project that's actually trying to govern agentic workloads. Completely different. I agree, human in the loop is important, but I don't think that this is just,
Keep up.
yeah. So you have to think about it 6 months, a year down the road to understand and define those primitives, because those primitives are what are going to translate into the future. So you have to get those right. I mean, I can build unfettered and decide what the primitives are, but really it's a collective collaboration between brilliant minds and intelligence from multiple communities. And so the open source community is completely different than what I'm used to. I'm used to being at corporations where everything's heavily siloed and can't go outside of this, can't ask this, don't get approval for this. At Red Hat, it's been completely different. It's like if you want to go talk to the CTO about autonomous workloads, you could talk to him. So it's been really nice. Let's see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Why is it got no click through? Oh, might want to press the button. So that would have been great for AI to actually push the button in that sense, because I couldn't find the button. So the idea is that over the last 6 months to a year, it's been a crazy explosion of agentic processes and how those work. And I know a lot of people are on the forefront using OpenClaw and Hermes, but it's still in its infancy. And trying to get this right is something that I've been thinking about for probably a year now. And I've built different tools that have kind of upped the layer to find that sweet spot of where governing agentic workloads lives. And it's hard because you have human reasoning in a computer, or trying to get human reasoning in a computer, and trying to find the edge between decision and action. So everything's a signal, comes in, makes a decision, that's the brain for AI. Then you have an action, a verification of that, and then the learning process, and it just has that closed feedback loop. So trying to find that edge is very difficult because there's so many nuances. So again, once a prompt reaches a button, hope is no longer a control. And that speaks true because when AI has a button and we don't visualize pressing that button, we have a way of separating ourselves from that agent. And understanding that and hoping that it works is never a never good recipe. You have to be able to understand visually, semantically, understand the drift, and there's so many different technologies that are wrapped around this that when you're absolutely correct that there is just a shift, a paradigm shift in what is being done. And I was an SRE previous to this position, and everyone said SREs are going to go away. No need. We have AI ops. What autonomous workloads just fix everything. Now it's shifting, and you have to know drift on the models, have to understand the machine learning from that perspective. Then you have to understand, is the agent doing what it's supposed to? How do you measure that? And it just shifts, and that's exactly what's happening.
So strange that things built by humans act like humans.
Yeah. And the genesis for this was also, I didn't want to build a governance tool with AI in it. I wanted to separate it completely out. This is all deterministic. So everything that is validated has to be deterministic so that when something probabilistic happens, there is a value that can be associated with that. And so whether it's a team, an agent, or a workflow, it's not just that. It can be plugged into any governance structure, any structure that can measure whether it's allowed to execute. So next slide. So this is Nigel. Nigel's a compliance officer, also has access to promoting different things and pressing buttons, like let's say promote a model. That's one that is near and dear to my heart because currently I'm working on CPU inferencing and learning different models on Intel infrastructure. So this is, people promote models all the time when they're not supposed to. And then it creates all sorts of problems. So Nigel's not malicious, he's helpful, but this is actually worse because it's not malintent, it's ignorance. And so I tried to put Michael, does anyone know Michael Sheen, the actor? That's supposed to be Michael Sheen, but it doesn't really look like Michael Sheen. And so he has the ability to promote a model. And there's 4 questions that we ask before this process. And those are, who is acting? What are they doing? Is it allowed? And what proves it? And that's what I ask my kids all the time. So that kind of works in a governance structure in my household. And then they just say, are you talking about agent responsibility injury? And I'm like, no. So, because a PDF is just a document that we can peruse and go through compliance, but is it actually providing deterministic validation of that specific intent? So those are the 4 questions: who, what, allowed, proof. Yeah. So in this demo, this is primarily execution out of the loop. I want to allow the agent or whoever to do the execution. This is just verifying and providing proof on the back end with an immutable ledger. So it's hash chained and using a little bit of blockchain inspired so that we can see the whole process front to start, or back to front, or start to finish, whichever one you want. Because in regulated industries, that proof is what's going to be compliance and regulation. Because without that, I can say who did it, what did it, and was it allowed. But then when compliance comes around and says, well, prove it.
But it's the proof of all 3.
Correct. Correct. So our checks before the action. And that's, again, to keep the separation between the decision and the action. There's the enforcement. And that's where we're trying to stay in between those layers on an agentic workload is very difficult because agents hallucinate, agents drift, and it's whether you apply the right context, provide evidence, that it makes it a little bit less likely to go rogue. So let's see. Clever is not the same thing as loud. That's what my wife tells me all the time. And so these are the four starting pillars. There's a few others, but intelligence never grants authority. Identity comes before action. So identifying that actor is hugely important. Now there's two ways to apply that authority. There's infrastructure level, and then there's scope with what that action is allowed to do. So then there's the policy, which it's checking deterministically the policy and then allowing or denying or suspending or what's the last one? Oh yeah, human in loop. So one workflow proves this, and this is the model, promotion as a model. Because if Nigel has the one button, most likely they're going to click it. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of, well, maybe not promoting to production. Well, yeah, I have. I'd be lying if I didn't. So now it's the request that comes in, the passport. So that's the identity, where we assign a identity to that agent at creation so that it has scoped authority and time to expire, and then it makes sure that that passport allows that certain functionality to happen. And then there's the policy and the evidence. So now we run it live. So let's put Nigel behind the button. We have allowed and denied. So I don't know if this is going to be easy to see, because as I like to do is just make it very complicated. So the first one, let me see if I just zoom. That's good enough. Yeah? Can everyone see, kind of? Okay. So as you see, I'm just basically, I have a backend that's running the open source model of this so that anyone can use this. It works in OpenClaw. It works in enterprise. It just depends on how far you scale it. So if you want to wire this up to your MCP server and say, I don't want emails to be sent on my behalf at any time, you could create an action with the client intent, and where is it? Oh, it's not on here yet. Where is it? Well, let's just start with the actor. So it's defining the actor and the agent ID, and it's saying it's registered, so it's successfully creating that agent and that actor. So it's like sending it to a model registry, basically. And then the passport, it will issue the passport and verify it. So again, you could create the scope of the policy, and you can create time to live and the boundary, and you can enforce that. So when it comes to scope, let me see if did I put the. So it's evaluating the scope, saying that it's allow for promote to production. And then when we click policy, this is where it should have the policy now. It's in what's called, it's an Opus server, but it's in language of Rego. And so you can see it's just, and AI can create these for you. You don't have to, but they're deny reason, and it's all deterministic. So it's super easy and super simple to wire into any type of workload. And that's the idea, is promote one workload at a time, one action type, because the action type is everything, because that's how it starts to understand which actions and which action types to enforce. This one? It's Rego or Rego? Yeah, it's OPA's been a really, really pivotal language and framework for governance and compliance lately, because it is so easy to write and to use models to reference it. So it's not incredibly difficult. And even creating policy generators to generate that, it's super easy. It is super simple because it's a deterministic pattern, like any, well, again, any code nowadays is really easy to write. Rego. Rego. Prego and Rego. Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't realize that. So at Red Hat, IBM is their parent company, and IBM Research are trying to define the primitives behind governance of agents. And there's a lot of talk around OPA being the primary language or the primary server and infrastructure using, and it just works really well. But can anyone tell, like, if you scale this, what part of this would all of this application might fall apart? I mean, that's a lot to ask, but I can tell you. It's interesting. It's the policy every time. Because if this is infected or poisoned, so this has to be protected at all costs, because this is what governs that. And if this changes in any way, it becomes a problem, a big problem.
By publishing it to a read-only source or like to a different source to reference it, then it could change that, right?
Yeah. Because the idea is to protect the agent from having access to it. Because if it has access to it, then it poisons it. And further primitives and builds kind of cover that. I never realized starting out on this journey how deep the rabbit hole goes, because trying to assign governance to reasoning, if you think about it from a humanistic standpoint, what is that? What is governance? Is that a conscience? So, like, are you trying to deterministically implant governance in that? It becomes, because there's time lengths where it may be the passport approves it now, but that workflow actually takes 2 hours to run. Is that chain still available? Yeah. So there's timing involved with it, and it gets pretty heavy. And this is so it. Go ahead. No, you're fine. Yes. Yeah. So I would say about 3 months ago, that was where I was at. Was I needed to not only push as hard as I could to see if it would hold the line. It was also making sure to keep continuous learning, continuous testing, because without that, those policies. And I'm starting to implement another piece to it for the policy part of it. And as you can tell, all of this is deterministic. These agents and this have actual values. So you can quantify certain characteristics behind an agent. By using geometry, you can then spatially aware whether it's drifting out, because you can accept levels of change based on the input and output and the metrics that the agent's generating to say whether it is staying on target or not. It's interesting how it starts to morph into stuff like different types of testing that as you start pulling billions of records and trying to run this through, those things will have to be there because no one's going to be able to say, oh, I've paid attention to an alert at 2 a.m. It's got to be more structural than that. And it's testing out pretty good, but it's a lot. Yeah. And then,
You've been posting on LinkedIn quite a bit about this, right?
yeah,
LinkedIn history.
yeah. And we all know LinkedIn's kind of a mixed bag. There's a lot of theory.
Is it active in X too, or what do you post?
I don't. I choose not to have social media. I don't even have a cell phone. I just have a watch.
That works.
Yeah, because LinkedIn, there's a lot of talk around this, but that's where building it and showing proof is important, and that's why the group at IBM, they're building the primitives. But my thing is, I want to see it scale. I don't want to. Yeah, you can tell me this works.
So we've got 3 more minutes.
Okay, I'm almost done.
I just have to say this is amazing.
Thanks.
So I can speak from experience that I have managed multiple development teams, and every time there's like 4:45 on a Friday afternoon, we have a critical issue. We've got to push this to development, or we've got to push this to prod. Really? Okay. What's the request? Who's acting? Do you have your passport? Oh, I'm supposed to go to the director or the CIO for this kind of change.
Yep.
They're already on vacation. My human bias comes into it because, well, I got to take the kid to debate practice tomorrow, so I don't want to be on a bridge call at 2 a.m. tonight, right? So let's just wait till Monday. Like, prove why this change is needed. Go through it, like the amount of times that you go all over the building and do the communication chain. This is awesome.
And another add to that is everyone's like, well, who's accountable when it makes a mistake?
Yeah.
This framework does that because the policy lives with the compliance and regulations and risk team. The actor itself is with the development team. The infrastructure is with the infrastructure team. And so everything's kind of separated out. And if something fails, then we know who to point to.
I mean, we literally had to go through and like,
Yeah.
okay, code review. Okay, code
Yeah.
review complete. You know, you're matching things in a system where it's just taking care of that.
Yep. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is check-only decisions. The proof, the immutable ledger is the big back end because that is the memory. Because everything is written to this immutable ledger. And what's true now, in 6 months, it can reference back to an incident that happened. And if you revoke that passport, every single agent underneath it falls away and they no longer have the authority to do what they used to do. So you're protecting the whole chain, you're protecting the whole department, protecting the company from mass issues. You're just revoking that passport. And so yeah, that's I think that's it. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
I'll just put it back up here.
Say, ripping stuff, right?
Yeah, I forget. I'm not a demo person, but now I'm forced to be a demo person.
Yeah, I put a link to his repo in the invitation to this meeting, and I can send it back out again. But his repo is listed there. And you've got how many active projects do you have around this? You have about 6 or 7 that I saw, something like that.
Yeah, they're just
Sub-projects?
they're entry points, starter kits, MCP tools, so that you could just plug right in, just build it on your local and wire it in and go. I wanted to make it as seamless as possible because you could probably ask Claude and just be like, there's a homebrew as well, so makes it the entry point easy, especially all you OpenClaw fans. If you test it out, let me know because that's the local proving ground.
So for me, like, I have a goal of having Hermes running this summer.
Yeah.
So I could have this running on Hermes and have my set of policies and be able to trust it much better.
Yep.
So that's what I need. Otherwise, yeah, we may have to start a super duper users group.
Quick question, do you have a set of policies with it too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
so like
just
out of the gate?
just out of the gate, but again, like tell Claude what you want to do and just write the policies and then just confirm it, run a quick synthetic test, red green it and make sure that everything, and just have it run that in the background so that it always verifies, and then maybe sends you an email if it fails, but I haven't had it fail. So
If you solve the scaling part of this, you would essentially have a solution to the P versus NP millennium problem. Because that's going to be your scaling. You're going to reach a point where generating enough proofs to validate the system is going to be itself harder than creating the system.
Yep.
So the P versus NP dichotomy.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you can solve that, there's $1 million they'll pay you for that.
okay. Yeah, I've scaled it locally, synthetically, so that, but only on I have a Corsair. It's got like 64 gigs of RAM, so I can scale it up to about 1,300 requests per second, and it holds the line. But there are some other areas in that have to be ironed out to scale it to like billions, because there's like there's a lot of infrastructure that's involved in that, and there's still trade-offs that I haven't answered that IBM are researching right now. So I'm just trying to lend my hand with some of the primitives. So yeah.
All right. I mean,